Hi everyone, welcome to this part 4 of the building up of the SFX-100 motion platform. So finally everything's arrived from China. I've got the last bearings, came in over the weekend, which is this big linear bearing here. So I'm ready to build up the actuator properly. In the last video I think I dry assembled it, but now it's time to build it up properly. So first thing I wanted to show today was that the servo motors come with a Woodruff key or a shaft key, and you don't need that, that's got to come out. So the way to get it out, M3 screw threads into the hole, the threaded hole in the key, and just screw it down. This one's already been out, so it'll come out easily, but if it hasn't come out already, you might need to just screw that in and sort of use it to jack it out of the slot, but you don't need that. And then you need to connect your shaft coupling. Now the reason why I'm showing this in detail is that there's a recommendation from the suppliers of these where you fit this in relation to the groove. So basically they want to see this groove away from the slot, so they're suggesting that you fit it like that, so that this slit is away from the slot. Tighten that up. That's basically because the position of that can affect how well that clamps against the shaft. Okay, so the next thing that I did prior to this video is, the recommendation is to clean out the inside of this because there's a lot of grinding paste left inside. So I've used some brake cleaner, poured a lot of brake cleaner down there and tissues to wipe it out, and it's now perfectly clean. And also I invested in a grease gun and some grease nipples. They're M6 grease nipples to go in the ball screw bearing, and I've pumped the ball screw bearing full of grease, as you can see, and worked the ball screw through the bearing to make sure that it gets a coating of grease in the, down the full length of it. And because I'm impatient and I can get it a bit cheaper than on Amazon, I went and bought myself a box of metric O-rings and found one that fits nicely in the groove. And I think I'm going to secure that in there with a little dab of RTV silicone. Okay, so it's this big bearing that was the last part that I was waiting for from China, and it fits into the end cap like so. So it goes from the side that's got the chamfer on it through and fits with these 4 M6 bolts. Also need to apply some grease to these balls. Now in a former life, when I used these types of bearings on racing car dampers, there was a special grease that was recommended for linear bearings like this, but I can't for the life of me remember what it was, and it's probably quite expensive. But it does, they are prone to, on these sort of shafts, fretting and scoring the shaft. So that usually happens after quite a lot of use. But in touring car and F1 dampers where we used these sort of bearings, we could see evidence of it after like a race, and all the bearings and shafts would be replaced. So it might be something to watch out for. Again, I haven't heard anyone say that they've had a problem. But if you do have a problem, then it's worth researching grease for linear bearings. I have a feeling it came from Kluber. It was a Kluber Plex product from memory. But for now, I just bought myself some decent quality grease from the local bearing suppliers. So 4 M6 screws. No washers. Okay, so that's done. So fitted the O-ring. Next we've got this bearing. Okay, so this bearing goes with the square shape towards that end of the shaft, like so. Slides on. That's the end of the shaft with the thread on. We've got a nut here to go on, and it's got a little, make note, it's got a little grub screw on it. So in the instructions they suggest tightening this in a vise. One assumes they mean to hold this end in a vise and tighten that up and then lock the grub screw off. Never liked the idea of holding any bearing shafts in vices, so I've got a little lathe chuck that I'm going to go and grab that with nicely, do that up tight, unlock that grub screw off. Okay, so that's that nut locked off. Just for reference, that's a 19mm spanner you want for that. And then lock the grub screw off against the thread. There's that little package built up. Now, in the instructions they say to put a piece of masking tape around this top edge to give you a nice tight fit into here. Well, I'm actually pretty happy with that fit. It's quite a sexual fit, so I'm going to suggest using Loctite stud lock, stud and bearing lock, because it's got a nice strength to it, and I think the fit of these parts is like good enough to be for this to be like a suitable adhesive. Again, in former life I've used this stuff to hold all sorts of things together. It's immensely strong. And we need to fit this bearing into the top cap of the actuator and it fits against these M5 threads. Presses in like so. Just going to wind this down to give me some more space to get in there. Okay, so that's got that fitted. So now I think we're in a position that we can start putting this together. So the instructions suggest that we don't tighten this up properly first, leave it loose. Well, this bearing fits so well into this block that I don't think leaving that loose is going to have any bearing on its concentricity with the top one, or with the whole assembly. So I think leaving the screws that mount this to the profile loose for the time being is the way to go. But I've just noticed that by fitting this, it partially blocks this hole. So maybe that's going to cause a problem. But maybe not, because I can get the washers underneath. So no, we should be okay. I'm just going to do these up a little way, or well, until it closes up, but leave them loose so that there's a little bit of float in the position of this bearing. It might be a better idea to put this bearing in once this top cap's fitted, because as you can see it's restricting how much I can screw this down with this being over the sort of going over the top of these screws. Okay, so that's down. I'm going to lubricate this slider with some of this, which is like WD-40, but it's got PTFE in it. I'm figuring the PTFE will help provide a sort of longer term solution to the lubrication of this. Then I'm going to again loosely fit these top M8 bolts on the basis that having a little play in the position will help align the bearings. As you can see by turning the ball screw, the shaft is moving up and down. I'm going to get a drill on there and move it up and down a few times to help make sure that the bearings are all in line. And then when I'm happy that that's moving up and down nicely and that any slight alignment issues have been taken out, I'll nip the screws up properly. Okay, so I just went and got my cordless drill. Okay, so that seems to be spinning nicely. So I'm locking off, turn these bolts up properly. There you go. Pretty happy with that. Okay, so earlier in the video I did this up tight, but I realised that you shouldn't do that. You need to take this off of the motor and put it on the shaft of the ball screw first. And tighten it on here. Then we align the slot in the motor mount in such a way that we can get to it with an Allen key. Then, like I said earlier, we've got to fit the motor in such a way as to keep the slot away from the slit in the coupling. So I'm going to put it in like so. I'm just going to fit it with a couple of these first, because we have to take it back off in a moment. So I've just done those up finger tight. Now I'm going to lock off the grub screw, sorry, the clamping screw on the drive coupling. Now I'll take these back out. You're probably thinking, why bother? But you're about to see why. And then pull the motor back off. And as you can see, the drive coupling comes apart, comes in half just by pulling it apart. That allows us to tighten that up properly. And then know that we can put this back now. With that tightened properly, we can put the coupling back together and bolt this up permanently. There we go, one finished assembled actuator, complete with its foot. So pretty happy with that. Went together not too badly. Happy with the action of it. 3 more to go, and then we can get into finishing the wiring of the motor drives. I've already covered the wiring of one drive, just got to put them into a cabinet that I've bought, put all 3 in and wire them together. And then we've got to look at the Arduino wiring and programming the drives and things like that, so I'll cover that in another video. So until then, thanks for watching. I hope you're finding it useful. If you've got any comments, obviously leave them in the comments section and I'll try and answer them. If you've got any experience of this or any ideas that might help other people, please leave comments and I'll try and update video descriptions and stuff to include those helpful hints. So until then, thanks for watching. Oh, like and subscribe the video and subscribe to the channel so that you get notifications when new videos come out. And until then, thanks for watching.